Hey guys, it's West here, back with another episode of From the Crumbs. Today we have plenty of progress to show you. It has been a week, and it has flown by like crazy. So, first and foremost, I want to talk about my new Giants team. My Giants team was previously around 140 to 150 second runs, or 1 minute 50-second runs, like on the slow side, and maybe 130 on the fast side. But I recently took out Veramos and added in Stella. I know I've been talking about Stella for a long time, hyping her up, but I figured since I finally decided to put some runes on Faye, because I have 300 something runes sitting in my box that are plus 12 that I'm not utilizing whatsoever, which is, trust me, I know it's stupid. But I recently runed up Faye and discovered how amazing she is. I decided I might as well rune up Stella as well. Now, keep in mind that this Stella is low on HP, low on defense, and your Stella, you want her to have just about everything. Resistance is decent, but you can pretty much do everything except for resistance and have her work extremely well. You want around 45% accuracy or higher for Giants and Dragons. Dragons 55%. But the big thing is having her speed around 200. My Stella is kind of slow. Her slot 2 isn't plussed up all the way. Once it is, she'll be whatever 10 speed faster, so 193 speed, which is decent. Her attack is fairly decent, and her crit rate and crit damage are nice. But what she adds to this team, which is really nice, is a ridiculous amount of consistency. So we'll explain why this team works in a minute. Those are the runes. So I did 50 runs that I kept track of. I know 50 is not a great amount for really understanding the statistical probability of the team's success rate and failure rate, but I did track 50 runs, and I have it all on paper here. It looks hideous. It's double-sided, all the crap I wrote down. I tried to be as in-depth as I could with the result of the run, the deaths that occurred in the run, where it occurred, and then the time of the run if there were deaths in the run. And surprisingly, the average runtime was 1 minute and 23 seconds. The average runtime. It was as fast as 1 minute and 8 seconds, or 1 minute and 5 seconds, and as slow as 1 minute and 40 seconds. And this is with a 94% success rate. So I had 47 wins and three losses. Team only wiped 3 times, which is pretty nice. I would say it's more or less. I would say 90% to be safe. Although one big thing to keep in mind with this team, Sigmaris, 0 skill ups. Charlotte has no let me phrase this correctly. No skill ups that make a difference, I guess you could say. So her first and second skill both have damage increases, but she does not have harmful effect rate increase on her second skill. She doesn't have harmful effect rate or turn reduction, cool turn reduction on her third skill, and she doesn't have harmful effect rate on her first skill. So she has no effective skill ups, in the way that her skill ups only increase her damage and don't necessarily allow her to use her kit more efficiently. So for the most part, you could say that Charlotte has no skill ups. I guess you can count these, but they only increase damage. Hraesvelg, of course, is skilled up, but my Stella has no effective skill ups either. She is missing 25% harmful effect rate on her defense break, which is a huge thing to mention because her defense break is part of the reason why she's so good. We'll talk about that later. She's missing 25% harmful effect rate on her second skill, the brand, as well as a cool time turn, which means that she's not going to land her brand consistently, and it's on a 4-turn cooldown. And then her third skill has only skill ups into damage, so it can actually be 2 turns faster, which again is very, very relevant, and we will talk about that in one moment. So the reason I was eager to take out Veramos is because I felt that this triple damage dealer team with a Galleon should be performing significantly faster, especially for the risk you take for not having a healer or any reliable speed buffer. I understand that Hraesvelg has a speed increase, but he doesn't have an attack bar increase, and it's not 100% reliable because it's based on his third skill being up, and sometimes he doesn't prioritize his third skill. Also, he's more based on doing damage than he is being a utility monster. So what I wanted was to pay attention to what was going on in my runs, and I have 3 AoEs, which is something you should note because I have 3 AoE monsters. 1 AoE monster has 2 AoEs. Charlotte has 2 AoEs. And so my clear time is pretty fast on the trash waves, where my runs were slow was at the boss, even with the max HP damage from Sigmaris. and the brand from Hraesvelg, and at the mini boss especially, because dealing damage to the mini boss is really hard. So what I decided was, why not throw Stella in? So on a side note, I did rune up Stella for Guild Wars, which is why she was getting runes put on her, and she doesn't have any skill ups, which is why I had no intention of running her in Giants, but I decided, why not? Let's throw her in, and I'll go ahead and show you guys what happens. So the success rate's pretty nice, the 94% success rate. Again, take that with a grain of salt, that's only 50 runs, so I'm not 100% sure on the success rate, but you'll see, I have no problem clearing the waves. So what Stella brings to this team is amazing consistency, and you'll see that in Giants, you'll see that in Dragons, you'll even see that sometimes in raids on the Rift Beasts, that what she brings is an additional armor break on the first skill, which is really nice because if you don't armor break, you're not going to do the damage that your team needs to do. She brings a second brand, and I understand that that might not be on a lot of people's radars, but if you're relying on a brand for your team to really successfully output damage, which I kind of am with this team, then having a second brand allows your team to do everything it wants to do that much better, because it means there's going to be more consistency. Also, she brings I think it's a 60% attack bar reduction, or 60% of the attack bar reduced with her third skill if she hits a lot. And that is, it's extremely important because this boss stage, we die if there's an AoE, which is the 3 times we lost, it's because there was absolutely no attack bar reduction from anyone. And the neat thing about this team is we have 3 units that all bring attack bar reduction. We have Charlotte with a third skill, that's a 90% attack bar reduction if it lands every time, 30% per hit. We have 60% from Stella's third skill, and we have a 20% or 30% or 30% absorbed by Galleon's second skill. So we have 2 forms of single target attack bar reduction and 1 form of AoE attack bar reduction. I realize that some of the people watching this video may be watching because of the relatively clickbaity title that I already anticipated I was going to be putting on it. And so I just want to state that I know for a fact this is not a free-to-play team. I don't need to see those comments because, you can put those if you want, but I already understand this is not a free-to-play team. What I'm trying to stress is this team is, it shows off that you don't really need the staple monsters. Of course it has Galleon, but there's no Lushen, there's no Tashar, there's no Hua, there's no Leica. You don't see any of the very, very typical speed team monsters. You do see Sigmaris, because I've always really loved Sigmaris as a monster in general, and mine is runed decently well. He focuses on crit rate and crit damage, not as much attack. I realize his attack is like 600 too low. I definitely agree, but what I'm trying to point out is, even without the skill ups, having the mechanics on your team is what really increases the success rate. Also, having the proper turn order. So I think I've got a proper turn order here. So I have Galleon going first, of course. My Galleon is about 240 something speed. I'll check afterward. I'll show you guys the runes on every monster. And after Galleon is my Stella, which is really important because Stella can land the brand. Stella can land the defense break. So I have my defense breaker and buffer Galleon go first, and then if his defense break derps, I have Stella can go in and put a defense break. If his defense break lands, hopefully Stella will use the brand, so we have the brand up. Then we have our first AoE in the form of Hraesvelg, who also buffs speed and attack. So in case Galleon derps and doesn't use his attack buff on the first turn, we have Hraesvelg go. After we have our Occult Girl Charlotte to clean up any of the stuff that our Hraesvelg didn't, and then we have Sigmaris to do any finishing damage where it need be, or in the boss stage do his max HP scaling damage. The team does surprisingly fast even when 2 units die, and 2 units dying was it was about 33%, 34% of the time 2 units died at the boss stage, which is of course not uncommon for any type of speed team. And usually, that right there is exactly why a unit dies. Stella is almost expected to die at the boss. If Stella dies at the boss, it's typically because Stella uses her third skill and multi-hits the boss so many times that the boss revenges. Which is why I was making the comment about Stella's HP and defense earlier, because with a monster multi-hitting that many times in your Giants team, you most definitely want to have some sort of tankiness, or at least enough survivability to last for 1 hit. Where this team could be greatly improved rune-wise, not talking about the necessary Devilmon, of course, is Galleon could be on a shield set, for example. This would allow my team to have more reliability because it takes, it won't wipe or lose any monsters at the boss wave or as often because the shield, of course, will absorb more damage. Of course, Violent on a unit like Galleon will help with anything that goes wrong if he potentially doesn't use his third skill. Violent could also be good on a unit like Stella, so that you could get off that defense break, so you could get off that brand as often as possible. And you could argue the point for Hraesvelg as well, although for me it's more important to have him on a fatal set because he is a wind monster and I do want him outputting as much damage as possible. In terms of Charlotte, she's currently on a Despair set. I don't think I'd have her on anything but a Despair set for this, because that extra chance to stun the ad waves just helps out the reliability of the team and prevents the crystals from doing any unnecessary damage or any excessive damage to my units. This team does just about everything in terms of buffing and debuffing the enemies. One important thing it doesn't do is attack break, but I think that the glancing hit chance from Charlotte greatly helps. You'll see I get a lot of 120 runs, which is really nice. The big thing is my runs have improved speed-wise by 20 to 40 seconds. You'd see some runs, even with my Vero comp, where the rest of my team has died and the damage output wasn't high enough to really make it fast, but my Vero is probably my most well-runed unit, and so he could pretty much clean up the boss by himself. It takes a long time, but Vero can, at the very least, take the Giant's boss solo from half health. He just lands enough dots, he has enough cleanse, he has enough speed where he's hitting the Giant multiple times per turn, so for the most part my Vero could clear it, and the problem was I wasn't doing enough damage to the boss with my other units. Now with this team, even though I don't really have any survivability mechanisms other than the attack bar reduction, which is all based on the accuracy resistance formula, which I've said before is of course flawed or very unreliable if you're hoping to make a team that consistently performs, I think there's enough of it and there's enough damage output where this team works really well. I really wanted to show off this team because I'm really excited about it. This is the first time in Summoner's War in a while where I'm like, I had a very aha type of moment. I was very skeptical about a team like this performing. The first run I did was the fastest run I've had with a team so far, which is a 105 run. So I saw that run and I immediately knew I loved this team. So I decided to go ahead and do a bunch of tests, do a bunch of runs, and graph it all so that I can watch it perform. That was a near fail run. That's happened before, and it's not really a worry because look, still 1 minute and 20-second run, extremely consistent. Surprising to me. We're gonna keep that. We'll probably end up selling it later, but anyways, all of that aside, I really love this team, and I really hope that you guys seeing this team helps you understand that it's not all about Lushens. So for me, that was a huge problem in the game when I was on my first account, even early on this account. It was very much, I need to get a Lushen if I want to have a team that is below 1 minute 30 seconds. If I want a below 1 minute team, I'm gonna need a Lushen, and it's really not the case. And I know I've heard from a lot of other YouTubers. I've heard from friends that I play with who are of higher rank than me. Conqueror 3 players. They've told me, you don't really need to focus on that, but it's really hard to believe that when every speed team you see, or most of the speed teams, I shouldn't say every, are a double Lushen, Tushar, Galleon, and Lan or something like that, or with a Leica or something like that, and you see all these Lushens being used. And you really don't need them to have a great team as long as you have the utility, you have your Tornador down, and you really understand what's going on in the dungeon. So, like I said before, this team can be greatly improved with both skill ups and rune quality. There's an example of when it wipes. It's because I didn't do the attack bar reduction, or the attack bar reduction didn't land properly. I wasn't 100% paying attention. But I think that's a great place to stop doing the runs and show what other updates I have. So like I showed you before, here are the runes for Stella. Here are her stats if you're curious. These are not impressive whatsoever. You can obtain much higher stats with 6-star blue runes. Her slot 1, of course, I'd like some more crit rate, some more accuracy, even some more attack. Her slot 2 is only a 5-star rune. I'm using this because it has the accuracy and crit rate. The crit damage is is an added bonus. It's icing on the cake, but the big thing was getting that crit rate and getting more accuracy. Her slot 3 is it's not that great. I know it has crit rate and crit damage, but at the very least, at this point in the game, that is what I expect on a rune. If it does not have at least 10% crit rate and at least 12% crit damage, I don't even consider it in terms of damage dealer runes that I've rolled. So if it doesn't have potential to reach at least that, I don't keep it. What I would like to see on this rune is some speed. The defense percent is nice. It helps her survivability a little bit. I think I might prefer HP. Just for the crystal waves, just for her overall survivability, might be a little bit higher, but overall this rune is decent. It's got the built-in resistance too. This rune is only a 5-star rune. Of course, at this point in the game, I really want at least 6-star blue runes on all of my units or better. That is the standard of runes I have, at least for myself. I wish the speed wasn't inbuilt. I would like to have a higher speed on this rune, and that's pretty much it. If the resistance traded place with the speed and the speed had rolled maybe 10 speed, this would be a really nice slot 5 crit damage rune. Of course, I'm using this because it has the crit rate and the attack. The defense, again, is an added bonus. This rune I really like. Speed, crit rate, crit damage, and it has an 8% inbuilt attack, which is really nice on a rune like this. I don't think I could get a better rune by reappraising this. This is a legendary rune, of course. And it did roll once in the defense, which is very sad. What I would prefer to happen with this rune is, or what I'd like to do is, I'd consider putting a grindstone on this rune. And there's not many runes in my box that I've looked at where I would put a grindstone on, because I feel like I have really high standards usually when it comes to runes and reappraisals and potentially grinding a rune. And trust me, I'm not going to be farming raid anytime soon, but if there is a rune in my box where I grind, it'd probably be this one. I'd like to add some, I'd like to put an HP grind on here, some kind of HP percent or defense percentage, and try to get 14 or 15% HP on this rune as well as grinding that 5 additional speed would be nice. 20 speed rune. I think this would be a really nice rune that I'd be using for a long time. This might be one of those runes where I use until late mid game, early late game, whatever you'd like to consider the time frame when you're really focusing on arena and RTA. So this is the slot 6 rune. I'm really happy with this rune. This is a blue rune, another rune that I'm talking about that I really like to see. Overall, I'll talk about this more in another rune video. I'm eager to make another one because I feel like I've kind of grown as a player, or I've learned a lot more about runes that I can share with you guys. And this is the kind of rune I really hope to see. It has it's a blue rune that rolled and a crit damage twice. It could have been higher, of course. This is 6% lower than it could have potentially been. It could have potentially been a 21% crit damage substat, but it does have a max roll and a crit rate. And then the +9 and +12 are both max rolls, which is really nice, and they're both very relevant. So I would say in general, this rune is 100% efficient for Stella, not in the sense of runes, but in the sense of all the substats are very usable and very important to have on Stella. So that's how my Stella got these stats. Again, I don't think they're very impressive. I think what I really want to see is more 6-star runes so that I can really achieve the stats that I want to. I want the speeds to be higher. I want the substats to be a higher percentage on all the runes. But so far she works and she's very effective for what I want her for. I'm going to be looking for that extra 2% accuracy somehow. I'm going to squeeze that on. I'll be searching for a better slot 4. So other runes that I'm really focusing on, Magic Knight I'm not really caring about. Charlotte. Charlotte still needs rune upgrades. She is very finicky with the runes she wants. She wants a Despair Blade set, and she wants it to be good. So all the substats pretty much on Charlotte, you're looking for speed, crit rate, crit damage. You want at least those 3. If you can get attack, if you can get accuracy, those are bonuses, or at least that's how I treat it. I know I have a lot of accuracy, but that is not on purpose. That's because runes like this, and that's it. And runes like this. So the slot 2 speed I had to use because I didn't have another slot 2 speed with the crit rate I wanted. This one has HP and accuracy as a bonus, which is nice, but what I'd really like to see is attack percent and crit damage, because I want her crit damage around 190% or higher. That's about the standard I have for my Charlotte. The other thing is these other runes. This rune is really nice, don't get me wrong. I'm not undervaluing what this rune is, because it almost rolled perfectly into crit rate, and it was 3% lower than it could have been in crit damage. But I really want to see higher speed on all of my runes. This rune only has crit rate. That's the only relevant sub to me. Accuracy is a bonus, defense is a bonus. I really want to see speed on my slot 4 crit damage runes. Also this rune, no speed. This rune, no speed. So I'm missing speed on every rune except for my slot 2 and my slot 3, which is why my Charlotte is so slow. Charlotte's a unit that I'd like to use everywhere in the game. I'd like to use her in Arena. I'd love to use her in Guild Wars. She's a great cleave monster. If you have her and you haven't built her, I'd highly recommend building her. The problem is this is a very speed required meta, or a meta that absolutely requires the most speed you can put on your units and a minimum of 70 to 80 speed on your damage dealers, or at least in the case of with the teams that I run. So I really need my Charlotte to have more speed. I finally have it so her crit rate is good enough, but the runes I have on her are not at all what I want to be seeing. So I'm going to be farming a lot for Despair runes. Despair runes are the runes that I have been crafting non-stop. I've been crafting Despair runes. I haven't been crafting Blade, Fatal, Swift, any of the other types of runes, because I've been so focused on getting Despair runes for my Charlotte, for my Poseidon, and a few other units that I've been thinking about building in the future. A unit that I have put some upgrades on is Poseidon. We'll get to him after I show my the rest of my dungeon team. This is my Galleon. These are his stats. He's speed, HP, and swift energy. He's fairly fast. I'd like him a little bit faster. 250 speed is pretty much the midpoint I want him to be at. So these are his runes. Of course, accuracy on here. The HP is nice. The attack and crit damage are very relevant. I don't really talk about Galleon this way a lot, but you do want him to do some damage. When you really get into a speed team with your monsters, Galleon has potential to put out massive damage, even without a crit damage rune, even without an attack rune. Between the attack buff and the defense break on the enemy, you could see hits around 8,000 plus. So it's not uncommon for Galleons to do huge damage to targets, to take out golems, to take out crystals with his second skill, because his multipliers aren't terrible, and his stats aren't terrible. His stats are close to those of an attacker. 700% attack. That's better than some 3-star attackers that are used that are 6-starred. So of course he's not a main attacker, but having him on runes with attack substats helps his damage output, helps the speed of your team. What I want to talk about is this rune in slot 4. You may be noticing slot 4 is the weak point on my account, and it may be the weak point on most people's account. Getting crit damage runes is fairly hard. Getting slot 4 HP or defense runes with relevant substats that are 6-star is fairly hard. This rune I'm using because it has the accuracy and it has a little bit of speed, and most importantly, it completes my energy set, so I can really get the rune efficiency I want to. I'd like to see a 16 speed rune for this, because that would bring my Galleon up past the 150 mark, so he'd be at 146 speed, right? Because that'd be a 12 speed increase. 146, I'd be 254 speed Galleon. So that's about all I need is a blue rune to really roll into speed for slot 4. And my Galleon would be where I want him to be. This rune, not much to say about it. Speed, accuracy, defense, it's great. This is a purple rune. No, this is a legendary rune that just didn't roll into speed the way I wanted it to. Here's another rune that rolled into speed. It's got attack, which is nice, and then speed and accuracy. Galleon's pretty cookie cutter unit in the way of how you build him. Just high speed, high accuracy, and then any tanky substats you get is really nice. But like I said, if you get attack substats, don't be afraid of having attack substats on him, or if you have a really fast attack rune, because when you're running a speed team, not when you're running a safe team, when you're running a speed team, Galleon can output some decent numbers and help speed up your team. My Sigmaris is how he has been for a long time, or she, whatever. Sigmaris has been on the same runes for quite a while. 5-star runes that aren't really impressive. Crit rate, crit damage, that's what I'm looking for. And attack is a bonus, because the main reason to have Sigmaris here is for the mid-boss and boss waves. With the recent update to Sigmaris, the extra max HP base damage on the second skill is really nice, and the freeze on the third skill just helps with a little more safety during the waves. Usually we don't have to worry about it, but occasionally when the team screws up, it's kind of nice as a safety mechanism. Hraesvelg has been the... he's received my best runes since I started the game, so really early on, I saw Hraesvelg, and I really was intrigued by his kit. He's a wind unit, and never in any of my accounts have I really had wind units that I've invested much into. It's typically a water unit, typically a Julie, typically a Miang, someone I'm interested in. I haven't really had any wind units before where I've been extremely psyched about, which is funny because on this account I'm fairly wind unit heavy. My first Nat 5, of course, was Charlotte. And Hraesvelg is amazing. So if you are looking for a wind attacker for your team, I'd highly recommend Hraesvelg. He's 4-star. He's quote unquote obtainable. He's fairly obtainable. You can get him from scrolls. If you have him, I'd recommend you use him. He's got dots, brand, and then attack buff and speed buff on a 3rd skill. All of his multipliers are great. He does great damage with an attack buff and defense break on the enemy. So with him, I've given a fairly great Fatal Blade set, or at least my best Fatal Blade set. Speed, crit rate, crit damage, and then built-in max roll into accuracy. This rune is great, very efficient for Hraesvelg. The slot 2 is probably my best slot 2 in my entire account. It's a 6-star speed legend rune. The rolls could have been better. That's my only complaint, and that's it. That's the only complaint I'm going to give this rune, because otherwise it's attack, crit rate, crit damage. It rolled once into HP, which kind of sucks, but whatever. It's got built-in HP percentage, so it helps a little bit with his tankiness, which he really wants. He wants more tankiness for everything else he's utilized for in the game. But he's overall a great unit. And this rune, that rune is amazing. This rune, perfect, no complaints whatsoever. Built-in resistance, roll into accuracy, roll into speed, roll into crit rate. I believe this was a purple rune, and then it rolled into crit damage afterward, which was icing on the cake. These are the kind of runes I want on all of my nukers or all of my attackers. And when I say that, I mean Charlotte, Stella, Hraesvelg. They all want this type of rune. Even Hua wants something like this. We've got this slot 4. This was the first good slot 4 rune I got. I made a video about it. I was so happy I think it was 2 or 3 episodes ago of From the Crumbs. And I was super excited about this rune. Speed, crit rate, built-in accuracy, and it's a slot 4 6-star crit damage rune. I was really happy. This is amazing for Hraesvelg. Again, crit rate, crit damage, and accuracy. It's really important to have accuracy on a unit if you're depending on them to make your run successful or reliable. So the reason I run Hraesvelg is for the brand. I run him for the extra dots on the boss, so we kill the boss even faster, so we kill the mid-boss faster. And to land that, you really want to have the amount of accuracy you need for giants, which is 45%. Slot 6 rune, not too much to say. 6-star attack percentage, high crit rate. It's got accuracy, defense is a bonus. It rolled in flight HP more than I wanted. It could have done one more roll in a crit rate, and I would have been, ecstatic. But still an amazing rune, or still the best rune I have, the best caliber of rune I have. His speed is fairly quick for a Fatal Blade set. Plus 72 speed is decent on a on a unit like him. So 175 speed. He's fairly quick for an attacker. His attack is decent. It's mostly raised up because of the Fatal set. There's a few attack substats on there, but my Hraesvelg for the most part has been getting a lot of my rune priority so that he performs the way he needs to. You'll see huge numbers with him in giants, with attack and defense break on the enemy, an attack buff on him. You'll see around a 24 to 25k hit on his 2nd skill because it's got like a 600% multiplier. With a brand, sometimes you'll see 32 to 34,000. So his numbers are huge. And for a monster with speed, slot 2, it's really impressive to see stuff like that. And there we go. Those are the units I use in my Giants team. Faye hasn't gotten any upgrades, but here are Faye's runes still. Same as always, Fatal Blade, speed, crit damage, attack. Not much to say about her. I was actually considering putting Hraesvelg's runes on her after seeing how she performed in Arena. We are going to do Rush Hour tonight. That is going to be a separate video. So I'm really eager to do that, and Faye is in my Rush Hour team. Speaking of Arena and what I've been doing there, I finally put runes on Chiwu. Like I said before, I've had 300 something runes in my box that are plus 12 that are ready to be put on units that I've been I don't know why I've been so hesitant to put them on units. I guess I felt that a lot of the runes didn't live up to the potential I wanted, or for some of the sets I was missing that one rune that just gave me the stats that I needed. HP is decent. He's on a speed, HP build. we'll go ahead and show these runes for you. They all have speed substats, they have accuracy substats, and then I try to give as much tankiness as I can. This rune isn't even plussed all the way. I only cared about the speed. I'm gonna plus that up. That's pretty disgusting. This rune, I didn't have any better speed HP for slot 2 or for slot 6, so I had nothing else to put on him, and I wanted speed HP so that I get a little bit of extra damage output, a little bit more survivability for some of the slow teams I run. And of course I do have resistance on him, and I want to make note of that because I have been doing a little bit of RTA. I don't really want to talk about it too much because RTA on my account is a little bit embarrassing. Of course, I don't have all the nat 5s in the world. I don't have the best rune quality in the world. So RTA for me, more than anything, is a fun thing. I play it and I enjoy it. And if I win, that's great. If I don't, whatever. It's not a huge thing for me. But I would like to get some of those shape-shifting stones. I'm really eager to get a lot more transmogs on the units that I really love. So I've been screwing around in RTA, and the resistance has come in handy a few times in some of the fights I've been in. The big thing is I'd like his accuracy to go up, and of course I'd want him to be faster than my Galleon. The funny thing is, the first time I used him in Arena, I parried him with Galleon because I knew the defense I was against would use would be on Will, and of course, I realized this way too late. I'm like, oh, my Galleon is 243 whatever speed, and my Chiwu is only 207. So my Galleon outsped my Chiwu, and it just destroyed the reason to bring Chiwu, because if you don't strip before Galleon, you're not landing your defense, right? I thought it was hilarious, but I'm really eager to build him up more because he's been a lot of fun to play with. Skills, of course, strip, he's got a sleep on 1, which is actually fairly reliable. Even though it's only a 20% chance, it hits for me all the time. Maybe I'm just lucky with this Chiwu. Second skill, beneficial effect block, really nice, and it's 2 chances to strip and then a beneficial effect block. Next unit, Poseidon. Poseidon I've been using in my cleave team. He's fairly tanky, 21,000, 22,000 HP, or no, just 20,000 HP, and then 1150, 1160 defense, so he's pretty tanky, he's really fast. His accuracy is low. That's my only problem with this Poseidon so far, is he's got way too many attack and crit rate subs and not nearly enough speed and accuracy subs, because I use him in my cleave to reset the enemies so that my Fae or whatever damage dealer I bring has a chance to go ahead and do what they gotta do. Other than that, my Bernard is the same as ever, only 259 speed, so I say only, not to brag and say it's easy to get a fast Bernard, but 259 speed doesn't really mean anything. When your Bernard really starts to get impressive is when he's around 280, 290 speed, even 300 speed. That's about what I'm aiming for, so I can really start to break into Conqueror. I know it sounds a little ambitious for where I'm at in the game, but on a rush hour, I believe I can hit Fighter 3 now. I've been hitting Fighter 2 finishes when I rush, so I believe I can hit a Fighter 3 on rush hour if I really push it. So that with the speed lead. I do want a faster Bernard for that. Of course, my nukers need some speed. Other units, I have all these amazing wind units. I know it's terrible for me to have these units and not be using them and building them, because trust me, I realize all the value of them. Pungbake just destroys some teams in Guild Wars. Eladriel's an amazing defensive monster along with the Wind Monkey. And Amir's got uses all over the game. The thing is, I don't have the runes I want for them, and the biggest problem I'm having is I really want Violent or really good Despair set for Amir, but I don't want to gimp my Giants team by taking away Charlotte's runes, so I don't want to build him unless he's on Violent, probably. Eladriel, of course, is amazing on Violent. And I have quite a few other monsters on my account which are just better with Violent, namely Rikuni, Hua, Faye would be better, and a bunch of units on my team. Other than that, units that I'm looking forward to leveling up and building, there aren't many, but I'll go ahead and show you guys my storage to prove to you that I've been farming a ridiculous amount of Giants. Here we go, a stupid amount of 3-star max Rainbow Mon, just sitting here waiting to be used. I know there's people who have more, but I've been farming Giants as much as I can, non-stop. Just, really eager to get better runes and better upgrades and progress, so I have more content to show you guys. I'm really eager to make these videos. I don't know if you guys can hear it in my voice, but I'm always super excited to make these from the Crumbs videos, from the I Like Oreo, any update videos I can for you guys, because I really enjoy showing you guys progress, and I really enjoy making content about this game. So I really want to build Trevor still. Ignore those runes, because I've seen him do so much in Guild Siege. I've seen him solo entire teams before. Of course, even not on Vampire, even on a faster violent set, I've seen Trevor do amazing things. So I really want to put Trevor in my team eventually. I know Gero has some amazing potential too. Of course, these are both units that want Vampire, but I think I can utilize them on Fatal Blade at the level that I'm at currently. So other than that, I'm going to be farming Giants non-stop until my fingers fall off. I hope I get more runes than Rainbow Mon, so I don't have to keep spending my mana on expanding my storage. I did get the daily pack because I was desperate to get more crystals. Just to note my purchases, I haven't bought anything since December, so that's all I've really spent on the game since then. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and join me tonight for the Arena Rush Hour. If you guys enjoyed, please leave a like and comment below, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Hey guys, it's West again. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe for more.